I know. You're short. Turn around a bit. It is so short. Press it again, press it again, press it again. Press it again. So let's stop. We gotta wait till the right light.
Considering the last few years, we've been at about 250. That's quite the improvement. So first of all, I'd like to thank, we have quite a few Linden State College alumni here, alumni and current students. If you could all stand, thank you so much for all of the past 4 years.
I don't even know what you
said. As they all know, it's a lot of work that goes into making this conference work for the last 40 years. And so this year we have nearly 30 colleges and universities present, more than 30 private companies, TV stations, weather service offices, weather service headquarters. We also have a record 54 oral presentations and 27 posters. So both of those are records as well. So thank you to all of the presenters. Round of applause for you. And all of our wonderful keynote speakers are here. So that almost didn't happen, but it worked out. Quite the winter we've had, but it worked out barely. And also tomorrow, I'd just like to say check out our vendors. So we have AMS Publications. We'll have a book signing with Paul Cosin and Louis Uccellini. They'll be signing Northeast Snowstorms. So if you'd like to purchase that, you can do that at a discounted rate. And we'll also have Lourdes Aviles from Plymouth State who will be signing her book. I'll also mention that we have the guidebook app that was pushed to everyone as you registered. So if you haven't downloaded that, take a look. It makes it very easy to pick out what you'll be attending. Tomorrow, we'll have a forecast contest. So we're forecasting for Albany. Submit your forecast by 10 a.m. And the top prize is a Davis weather station, which should be exciting for everyone here.
I had the I kind of feel bad now.
Sunday, we'll be starting. So Sunday, as usual, the last few years, daylight savings time happens, switches over this weekend. We'll be starting about 45 minutes late on Sunday, so breakfast starts at 7:45, opening remarks at 8:45. We needed that extra 15 minutes.
Could be worse.
Better than last year, so great. And then the conference will wrap up at about 1 p.m. on Sunday, so please stay through that. We have a lot of great talks. In addition to Paul Cosin's keynote on Sunday morning, we'll have winter weather talks, lake effect snow, quite a few talks on Sunday. So I know you're all here to listen to me speak, but we also have Jim Cantore. So I'll just get to that quickly. So our first keynote speaker is Jim Cantore. He graduated from Linden State College, great school. And quickly after that went to the Weather Channel, where he's been since. He's covered really every major weather event in the last 25 years or so.
Just recently. I was ready for that.
And yes, so we're excited to be back here in Saratoga Springs. We were here for a large part of our history. The first time we were here was in 1993 for the superstorm that Jim remembers well, as does everyone else at the hotel. We were digging out. He was helping dig out from the about 2 feet of snow. I don't know how much they had. I wasn't born yet.
No.
He can talk more about that, but without further ado, Jim Cantore.
And because I've covered storms for so many years now, I need these. It's great to be back in Saratoga Springs. It's great to be back in the Northeast. Well, not really, because I've been here for the last month and a half. What a winter, guys. Seriously. I mean, I have been out more this winter than I have in any hurricane season, even 2005, which, as we know, was a historic season. So this was a winter to remember, especially for the folks in Boston. So many records, so many numbers. I mean, it's a two-pager, if you will. So you know, I thought, what am I going to talk to these guys about tonight? So why, 40 years, wait a minute, the Weather Channel's almost 40 years old. On May 2nd, 2015, we will be 33 years old. There's a lot that's going on the Weather Channel in 33 years. So I thought I'd tell you about it. Some of the things I've gone through, some of the things I've never told anybody. You're going to hear tonight, actually. So sit back and enjoy the ride. This thunder snow thing. For the record, the first time I saw thunder snow was in December 1996 in Worcester, Mass. I had never seen it growing up in Vermont, and I freaked out then, and I freak out today. I don't know why. It just kind of jacks me up. Some things just kind of get us excited about. What can I tell you? And I want everybody to make a note of this. So Worcester was the first one in 1996. Chicago, I've seen it twice. The big one was February 2nd, 2010, the Groundhog Day storm. 45 minutes worth of lightning and thunder right in downtown Chicago. That was pretty epic. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Of course, Plymouth, Mass. Just a few weeks ago. As I'm sure you've all seen on YouTube. I love the baby dancing though, seriously.
Oh yeah.
I like that more than myself actually. And that was incredible. But I've also seen thunder, freezing rain, Burlington, Vermont, January 1998, the big ice storm they had up there. I know a lot of you guys can't remember this because you weren't born yet, but I'm just telling you. And then thunder, sleet just a week and a half ago down in Dallas. So we've seen it all. If anybody wants to top that, come on up here and tell me all about it, because I'd love to hear about it. But it was awesome. It was awesome. And the thing about Plymouth, so they said, Jim, you should probably get out of the Cape because the winds will be a little bit stronger. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? When it's whiteout conditions, guys, I'm going to be honest with you, the difference between 50 and 60 mile an hour winds and horizontal snow isn't that great. I don't think people can really tell that on TV. But I went anyway. So at 5:05, I see Reynolds Wolf get this flash of lightning behind him. I'm like, no, I left Boston. You gotta be kidding. So I was just crushed. I was totally demoralized. And I put my face right down in the snow. And then at about 20 after, I got the flash, and the rest is history. I mean, I went from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs in a real big hurry. Plus, I was a little sleep deprived too. So. All right, so let's talk about the Weather Channel a little bit. We'll go back to 1982, which I know a lot of you can't remember, but that's how far we're going back, because that's when cable pretty much came alive. The birthplace of cable was Atlanta, Georgia, CNN, the Sports Channel, the Weather Channel, all cable stations where we could have a 24/7 operation with low cost of living and really little weather to have to worry about, so everybody could get to work. So the Weather Channel launched in May of 1982. In 1984, they almost pulled the plug on the Weather Channel. Almost was a non-entity. Cable station said, nobody's watching it, you guys, we don't really know what you're doing. And this guy named W. Wynn went around and he actually gave the service away for free. He said, hang with us. We're going to make some changes, we're going to do some things, and I think you'll like the results. And sure enough, everybody stuck with us. And now, when I started in 1986, on July 13th, we were in 28 million homes, and now we have about 97 million homes in reach. So it's been a nice growth. It's been a nice growth, that's for sure. 1989, starting to fast forward a little bit, get a little bit closer to you guys. That was Hurricane Hugo. Back in the day of the Weather Channel, we showed map after map after map, and they aren't the maps of today. These are flat, non-dimensional maps with highs and lows and temperatures. So people said to us, guys, we really love all your maps and all your information, but we want you to get out there and show us what it's like to be in it. So Liz Jarvis and Dennis Smith went out and covered Hurricane Hugo in Charleston in 1989. So that was our first coverage there. In 1992, after Andrew came through Florida, they looked at me and they said, Jim, you think you want to go out and cover a storm? Because Dennis is down there in Florida and he can't get out. And I said, let me think about this for a second. We just had a Cat 5 hurricane go through. Yeah, I want to go. Let's do this, absolutely. So that was my first storm, 1992, the second landfall of Andrew. We went to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Storm stalls over the bayou. I go to bed, our crew goes to bed after finishing at about 10:30 at night. And about 3:30 in the morning, I'm on the 16th floor of this hotel. And this is back in the days where they have the little air conditioning units in the windows. Mine blows in. Blows in. Here it is. I sit up out of my bed. My air conditioner is sitting in the middle of the floor. I look, I've got window and 16 floors down. All right. But I, of course, went to the window because I wanted to see why it blew in. And it looked like the 4th of July out there. We get transformers popping left and right. And not surprising, here comes Andrew. So I, of course, didn't have a cell phone to call my producer, so I had to call the operator and get him. I said, you gotta go live. It's coming in. It's coming in. So we went up on air about 4:30 in the morning and pretty much broadcast the landfall, the second landfall of Andrew, which obviously wasn't certainly as bad as the first. But I'll never forget it because there sat my air conditioner right in the middle of the floor. Fast forward 1993, blizzard of 93, last time I was here, as you mentioned. Who told you I was shoveling people out?
Hotel staff.
People remember that. Oh, the hotel staff. That's great. I did. That's a true story. So we've got some fact checking to verify here. I know that's important these days. I remember too, because at the time my wife was pregnant with my daughter Christy, and they had a foot of snow in Woodstock, Georgia. So she's trapped down there. I'm trapped up here. I missed coverage of the blizzard, but I was kind of in it. So it was good. I got a little piece of it. June 13th, 2002, an awful day at the Weather Channel. Probably the worst day ever. We lost the guy I would consider the face of the Weather Channel, John Hope. That's the day that John left us. And John was one of my mentors. And the one thing he taught me was compassion. Every time he spoke on the air, every time he delivered a message, there was a meaning behind it and a tone. And you just shut up and you listened to the guy because it just meant something. And I never forgot that. I said, I always want some of that to be a part of me. And I hope it always is, because that's the man John Hope was. He was just a gentleman. Just a gentleman. So for those of you in the room who do remember John, I know there are many of you, we miss him to this day. We really do. And I never forgot him, ever. In my early days, though, of that channel, I started at about 22 years old. John came up to me and he said, he goes, Cantore, your tropical updates are awful. And think about this. Think about your grandfather or your father or your mother coming to you and saying, you're doing something awful. That's what it felt like. So I was crushed. But growing up in Vermont and certainly being winter storm centric, the tropics was the last thing on my mind. I didn't know Antigua from St. Martin or anything like that, but I said, you know what, dude, you need to learn the tropics. This is John Hope talking here, and you do not want to disappoint this man. So I bared down and learned some tropical meteorology. And then, speaking of 1992, about 5 days before Andrew came into South Florida, and remember, this is the day where we were only doing 3-day forecasts for hurricanes, not a 5-day. I was on the air doing the tropical update at 50 past, which we normally do, and I was out there. And I said, if this keeps going, anybody from the Outer Banks of North Carolina down to South Florida could deal with this storm. So be ready. So I didn't think anything of it. I thought that was good advice, right? I get off the air, this guy named Wendell Pickens, who back in the day we used to have to dial up the radars. I know you guys can't really relate to that, but just trust me. He goes, Jim, Bob Sheets is on the phone. Now, for those of you who don't know Bob Sheets was at the time the director of the National Hurricane Center. So I was kind of like, dude. So I kind of turned the other way. He goes, no, Bob's on the phone. So I went over and I grabbed it. I said, hi, this is Jim Cantore. Can I help you? He goes, yeah, this is Bob Sheets, the National Hurricane Center. Oh, hi, Bob. Hi, Bob. How you doing? He goes, did you just extend out the 3-day forecast of Andrew? I said, yeah. I said, if it keeps going, anybody from the Outer Banks down to South Florida could potentially deal with this. Don't ever do that again. I just had every emergency manager from the Outer Banks to South Florida call me. So I guess I went into the tropics. I was a little happy, even though John wasn't very happy with me. But that was a good day. In 1995, the Weather Channel launched weather.com, which you're all familiar with, weather.com. So here we go, here we're starting, this is internet time now. We've gone from television, now the internet's coming into play. See, I'm getting a little bit more toward your generation now. a lot more of you are born now, maybe you're out of diapers, I don't know. So, fast forward to 2004, anybody from Florida, it was hurricane after hurricane after hurricane. I mean, it was crazy. It was like every other week I was asking people to evacuate. And I remember during Gene, which was kind of the final one there that I was down for, they said, Cantore, you know what? I don't care if the Cat 5's coming. I'm done. I'm not going anywhere. I've been packing up. You guys have been disrupting my life the whole doggone summer. That's it. We're done. We're toast. I said, okay, do what you got to do. But Gene came in, did what it had to do. Ivan, Francis, Charlie, of course, the first one. But it was a busy year. And then came 2005. Just a continuation of 2004. Horrible season. Obviously, Katrina was the big show. And Katrina was awful in many, many ways. We started our coverage in Florida because Katrina was a rapidly developing storm off the Florida coast. It was a hurricane as it came ashore. Land didn't matter. It was still developing. If you remember it moving west of Key West, all I remember was looking at those obs in Key West. As it's moving away, they're still gusting over 65 miles an hour. So now you get this expanding wind field. It became a monster, as we know, and we saw so many times on satellite. Anyway, so I started, we got to Biloxi, started our coverage there. I tried to figure out the best way to tell everybody, how awful it was going to be with this, because it was pretty good confidence this thing was coming in, and it was going to be, one of the worst hurricanes the Gulf has seen, and certainly the Mississippi coast, potentially since Camille in 1969. And it was the worst. But I started saying, because I was standing right by the Treasure Bay Casino, I said, that casino, back in the day, they had to have the casinos over the water. If you were going to have a casino in the Bible Belt, it had to be over the water, right? That's just the way it goes. Well, those casinos in the water didn't really realize that they were going to face 25 to 30-foot storm surge and wave action. And when they did, they got pummeled. So I started saying that casino over there is going to be a disaster in about 36 hours. So the mayor comes down. Mayor A.J. Holloway comes down. He goes, Cantore, you're scaring me. And I was like, good. I said, you got people in there gambling, and they need to be evacuating. Of course, it's a weekend, so that's where the money comes from in Mississippi. A lot of gambling money comes in on the weekends. So they wait. Finally, on Sunday, they issue the evacuation order. People get on out of there. We have to move from where we are because we're right on the beach at the hotel we're at. So we moved to Gulfport, to the Coliseum. And then the folks from the Armed Forces Retirement Home came and found us. I don't know how they thought, I guess they saw we were on TV. And they said, why don't you come broadcast with us? We've got 475 US vets, our heroes, and we are 27 feet above sea level. I'm like, really? How far are you guys from the beach? Oh, about 250 yards. I'm like, really? You're 27? That's fantastic. I mean, the place is built like Fort Knox. They got a bed for us. This is great. Let's go do this. So we talked about it. My producer, myself, all the camera guys. We're exhausted. I mean, we're toast at this point, even before the storm. And we decided we're going to do it. So here comes the morning of Katrina, and at 8 o'clock, we did a live shot. At 8:06, we went in for breakfast. The winds are howling, and it's getting stronger. The storm's coming. It still hasn't come very close to us. It was still about 8 hours from us. But by the time we went out at 8:15, the entire parking lot was full of water. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we just got a downpour or something. But no, that was the storm surge. That was the first wave of the storm surge. And with us at the Armed Forces Retirement Home were about 15 to 20 Navy CBs. The CBs are the land-based unit of the Navy. And the gentleman in charge looks at me and goes, Jim, the water's not going to get much higher than this, is it? I said, if we're at 27 feet, I can't imagine it would with a forecast of 25 feet. So the water kept coming up, and then it was all hell breaking loose. I got my guys out trying to get their camera equipment from their cars start bobbing up and down. You know, diesel fuel is leaking all over the place, the generator goes, and at the time, you've got all of these heroes in the breakfast hall, which is on the first floor. All the medicine is on the first floor. All the folks from ICU on the first floor as well. So it wasn't about the TV at that point. It was about getting everybody up to the second floor. And so now you've got this nice air-conditioned bunker that now loses its air conditioning and starts losing windows, and doors are flying open all over the place. So to bring in 100% RH onto an air-conditioned plastic floor basically makes it an ice skating rink. So we're trying to carry up these huge battery-powered wheelchairs with, you know, with invalids in them. And it was exhausting, but it was the job that we had to do at that point. And you know, we helped out the CBs as much as we could. Lost all of our equipment, lost our vehicles, except for the satellite truck. Once the storm cleared, the next day we got the satellite truck up and running. We started doing live broadcasts. Nobody was harmed in the Armed Forces Retirement Home. Everybody was fine. Nobody died, and that's the key. You don't lose anybody, and we didn't. As horrible as it was. And then we started making our way toward Gulfport. And that's when, you know, the full scale of this thing really came to me, because I've never seen roads in that kind of condition. I've never seen homes completely flattened. I've never seen basically everything scraped from the coast all the way through into 100 yards. We had those wonderful ocean-based casinos sitting in the middle of US 90. And it's the first time I ever had to witness death and smell death. And I never want to do that again. I don't wish that on anybody. But that was Katrina. And while all that's going on, the natural disaster, you have the man-made disaster in New Orleans, which garnered all, if not most of the attention. So, yeah, we all know the response and how things have improved since then, but it was tough for a couple of days. We're sleeping in the car. I remember one meal we had roasted mini wheats and cheese whiz, which I really wouldn't recommend, by the way. But you know what, when you're hungry, you'll eat just about anything. But we had a job to do, and we did it. Day 2, they evacuated the Armed Forces Retirement Home folks. But I always wondered, you know, why the water came in if we're 27 feet. So a friend of mine actually went and looked at those engineering specs, and that place actually was at 20 feet above sea level. Yeah, that makes sense now. That makes sense why the water came in the first floor, especially with a 27-foot surge. So that always haunted me. I'm like, okay, well maybe they just didn't realize it. And then a couple of years later, I was at a hurricane conference, and I got to meet the emergency manager of Harrison County. And I asked him, I said, Colonel, why didn't you evacuate those heroes? And he looked at me and he goes, Jim, I thought that we did. And I was kind of like, you know what? I wonder if it just made a lot more sense to have the Weather Channel there if something went wrong. But I like to look at the glass half full, and that's the way I'm going to look at it. It was just an oversight. The good news is everybody lived, and nobody got hurt, and that's the key. And you should see that place today. It is a phenomenal bunker. It sits at 30 feet above sea level. All right? It's got a bowling alley, a swimming pool. It's the kind of place that if you were one of our heroes, you'd want to go to and should be given the opportunity to go to. And that was Katrina, ladies and gentlemen. Something I never want to go through again, ever. I would think, by the time 2005, maybe we had Wilma, and I would think that the Weather Channel was at the top of our game. I mean, we were really just cranking out every storm. We were on every weather event. We just were doing a magnificent job. I was very proud, obviously, of the kind of things we were doing. And we're at a point now where, okay, we got a great network. We can go into these hurricane seasons and basically make all of our ratings good for our advertisers. Well, then came 2006 and 2007. And guess what happened? No hurricanes. So we thought, you know what? I mean, it's a business. You like, oh my gosh, what? These guys hung over? What's the matter? Anyway, I didn't think much of it. Went and did the Derby, got a couple of hits. It was great. Came home. There was still this kind of cold chill through the automobiles of all of us riding back to the hotel. The next morning, I get up, make my way to the airport. It's pouring rain. I mean, just dumping rain. And Nashville has already had 7 inches of rain. And now it's lining up for another 7 inches. I'm like, holy smoke, maybe going home is not exactly what I want to do right now. So I call the desk, I'm like, Howard, what should I do? He goes, dude, just drive to Nashville. Just go to Nashville. So I start driving down to Nashville from Louisville. And I'm seeing all this flooding along the way. I'm seeing cars floating. I mean, it was bad. And I just made it into Nashville. So we got there. The truck couldn't make it. The truck got stuck between Memphis and Nashville. It finally makes it during the overnight hours. And we were supposed to meet in this parking lot to do coverage the next morning. Well, about 1 o'clock in the morning, after going to bed at about 10, we get a call and we have to evacuate the hotel because of flood concerns in Nashville. Like, oh, jeez. So, I'm up at that point. We do our coverage in the morning. I finish about noon, 1 o'clock. Seidel takes over for me. But as he comes to take over, he goes, Cantore, you know what's going on, right? I said, yeah, it's a flood. He goes, no, the other thing. I was like, what other thing? It was your tweet. You made the front page of News Blues this morning. And as future broadcasters, you don't want to make the front page of News Blues. Unless somebody likes you president or something. So I was like, oh boy. I honestly, I thought that was it. I thought I'm done. I'm toast. That's the end. So I got back to my room. I laid down. I'm exhausted. I laid down. Phone rings. I'm like, oh, God, what? Hi, Jim. This is Steve Kappas at NBC. Woo, okay. We might as well go right to the top of this one. I said, Steve, honestly, I just laid down. Give me 5 seconds to splash some water on my face because I'm just so I can wake up. And I did, and he gave me that. And he just said, he goes, what is all this? What did you do? I said, I was told we were not going to play the movie. We did. I felt bad. I felt like I lied to people. I needed to apologize. He goes, is that what you did? I said, well, okay. I went a little overboard. He goes, yeah, you did. He goes, this is a major crap storm you just created here. And I was like, I'm sorry. I was wrong. What do you want me to do? Jim, don't do anything. When you have a problem like that again, you come to me. I was like, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. I knew that wasn't going to be the end of it. But, then I got a call from my boss, screaming, yelling, hollering. Finally got back to the Weather Channel after the flood coverage a couple days later. Went into the president's office. Mike Kelly was his name at the time. He asked me what happened. I told him exactly what I just told you about the memo, the email. We're not playing the movie. We're going to be doing live severe weather coverage. And I was very upset that we weren't. And so I tweeted about it. And I probably should have done it a little bit better than I did. He goes, Jim, I understand. Because I understand. You kind of opened up our eyes a little bit here to this. People want weather coverage on the Weather Channel. And I said, well, thank you for saying that. I mean, I won't do it again. He goes, that's fine. Consider the case closed. Okay. But I really, for the first time in my career, I thought, I'm done. I'm toast. But I thought for a second, you know what, dude, if you get fired, you kind of went out doing what you believe in, and that's okay. It's okay. You probably could have done it differently, but it's okay. I didn't get fired. I'm still here to talk to you guys. 2011, historic tornado season, Tuscaloosa, Joplin. Same thing. Same disastrous, unthinkable, movie set kind of stuff. The heartache, I like winters better because you don't have that kind of loss that you see. When you go out and cover a tornado and a hurricane, especially the big ones, it's hard. Day one, prepping everybody. Day two, you go through the disaster. Day three, you hear about these horror stories. Day four, you're waiting. You're trying to keep everybody positive about the humanitarian effort coming in. Day five, it's there, and finally your mind and your soul gets a little bit of a break because you see people helping people. You need that as much as they do when you're out there doing that. But when you're out there, you have a job to do. And so you got to keep it together. And it's not easy. It's not easy. In Tuscaloosa, I had Fisher, who just started working with Village, Eric Fisher. And, like this is, I could tell it was tough on him. I said, it's all good because this is hard. Don't expect it not to be hard. This is hard to deal with this, and I've been through a few more of these than you have, but none of them are easy. And trust me, if I never see another destructive tornado or another destructive hurricane, I'm actually okay with that. I really am. If it's in the middle of South Texas or something, and I just got to get out of the way of the surge, great. But I really, I've had my share, guys. I've had my share. 2012, we acquired Weather Underground and Weather Central. To the chagrin of some. But for me, I'm sitting there like, this is kind of awesome. Weather Underground. Masters, I love reading his blogs. This is like serious weather. And, weather.com didn't quite have that serious niche that Weather Underground did. So it was really nice to get that part to the Weather Channel. And we also changed the name of the Weather Channel. It wasn't just the Weather Channel anymore. Now you've got the Weather Company. You've got a company that not only is doing TV, but it's doing internet and it's doing phone. And as we all know, the phone is king today, isn't it? We've seen a major transformation of how people get their weather information. And that phone is enormous. And this guy named David Kenny, who was our CEO, knew this, and I think he did some really awesome things at the Weather Channel. So let me just tell you about them. First of all, 2014, we launched AMHQ. We completely redesigned our maps, our mobile apps, and our local on the 8s. And for the first time, we have this absolutely kick-butt studio called The Lab. For the first time in my career there, it's like we're not chasing to build a set as good as CNN's or MSNBC. Now we have like a state-of-the-art weather lab. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's really awesome. So I'm like stoked. They really, it's kind of like they really care about what we do on TV. This is awesome. So present day Weather Channel. Let me just tell you what this company is about, because a lot of you, you watch it and you think it's just TV, but it's so much more than that. We have 1,300 employees in the US, UK, and China. We are a cross-platform leader of weather data. In other words, phone, internet, TV. We do it all. That's how we sell our advertising. They compute 20 terabytes of data daily. with 800 sources of integrated data. That's how much energy goes out there to all this stuff. 13.4 million people visit our mobile apps daily. This includes Weather Underground. Weather.com is a top 15 US website. And it's not a clickbait site anymore. One of the things that was really interesting to me along the way was how, you know, if we're doing serious weather on the Weather Channel, I think it's really important that we're doing serious weather on weather.com. And those two have to mirror each other. And we figured that out. And that's where we're at with weather.com right now. It's great. Guys like Erdman and Dolce and Nick Wilkin, they put out excellent articles on weather.com, finding data and stats like you wouldn't believe. I swear to God, Wilkin could be like a Japanese meteorologist. He finds all these great stats from Japan. I'm like, dude, where did you find that? That's what I do. Yeah. Okay, so here, you know, we power the weather. Here, listen to this. This is probably the biggest. We power the weather for Google, Apple, Yahoo, Microsoft, Nokia, Facebook, Twitter, and more. We power the weather for that. That's awesome. That's just awesome. We're partnering with China for their weather data. And of course, if you know anything about China, right now cell phones and data, weather data in China is huge. They want it, and we are right on top of it. Our Weather FX integrates weather data and sales analytics to forecast customer sentiment and buying patterns. That's all our data. It does that. So we are out there. That is the Weather Channel today. It has been an awesome company to work for. And with anything great, you stumble a little bit along the way. And I just want to say to a lot of you, some that aren't even in this room tonight, I appreciate the constructive criticism along the way. Because like you, I'm a weather geek. And I just want to see weather. But I'm also a part of this company that realizes that it's a business, and you have to do what's best for the business. As a matter of fact, the shows that we have at night on a quiet weather day, we preempt those shows when there's active weather, you know that. But on a quiet weather day, they quadruple what we get for regular readings. And there's so much more weather-centric now. So that's a whole new audience we've never reached before. But that was a good business decision. But you had to figure out how to do it. How do you integrate weather that you don't know how bad it's going to be next week with shows that people may want to just tune into on a regular basis? And that's hard. But we figured out a way to gain a whole new audience with those shows. So my hat's off to my company for that. As an enterprise, though, I want to kind of wrap. That's the Weather Channel. But you know, as an enterprise, you got to think about where we've come in the last 40 years. And it's pretty awesome. The models, the weather presentation, how quick we can get weather data out and update it, the accuracy, the improvements in the forecast. You know, I know Bill Belichick still thinks that we don't get it right, but we prove him wrong. And you know, that's just not what weather is anymore. We're not going to get everything right, but this day and age, you don't have a 50% chance of getting it right. Those percentage chances are a lot higher. So where are we going to be in the next 40 years? That does beg that question, doesn't it? It kind of boggles the mind, especially when you think about how fast we've come into mobile and data in this past 5 years even. So will there be a time in your life, certainly, and I think so, that you're going to be able to see with a pretty good deal of accuracy a tornado season mapped out, a hurricane season? I think that's where we're going. But at the end of the day, it is up to us to deliver an effective message, which still needs the most work. Why do people drive when it's snowing so hard they can't even see their hand in front of their face? The hardest thing to do is try and predict what people do, because everybody's different. 2 inches of snow for somebody to drive in is like 16 inches for somebody else. I mean, you know, everybody has their own thresholds. And to try and predict that moving object is something as an enterprise we have to tackle. And I know that we, certainly as a weather-ready nation, that's top priority. I don't want to tune in on TV and see people trapped on an interstate. And I mean, that's just, and I won't say that the storm in Kentucky didn't overachieve, because it did. But how do we make them realize that, you know what, as we're going along through these storms, something's changed, and it's not good, because this means a far worse impact, potentially, than what we originally anticipated. So how do we get this nowcast mode and push this nowcast mode even farther? That's something we have to tackle, but we have to ace it. We have to improve that. You know, I think certainly the phone gives us a great way of reaching people. GPS, I mean, we've got the tools, we just have to put them together and use them. The other thing too is I certainly was very disturbed over the winter when I saw the governor of New York say that Buffalo blew the forecast. I'm like, oh my God, that office did a fantastic job. They talked about snowfall rates and when it was going to be intense. They couldn't have done a better job in terms of the forecast. So what are you not hearing? And especially at that level. Every time I've been to, whether it be a hurricane, whether it be a snowstorm, a tornado outbreak, especially storms that are pending more than a tornado outbreak, because it's already occurred usually. But you see the governor or the mayor up there, and they're with their emergency officials and the fire chief and the police chief. I would love to see a National Weather Service meteorologist there, right off the top. Here's what we got for you. So then you don't hear the governor or the mayor babble through the forecast or what they think is going to happen. Here it is from the source, and here's what you're facing. So set the tone right out of the gate, and then the governor and the mayor can come in and they can say, all right, well, here's what we need. Here's what we need to tackle that. Here's how we need to prepare for that. Here's what you need to do to deal with those impacts. And I think if we can get there, we're getting closer to delivering that better message that we need to do along the way. So guys, 33 years at the Weather Channel. That's how old we'll be on May 2nd, 2015. I've had 29 of them, which have been great, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. This winter has been a little rough on me, I won't lie about it, but just like Tom Hanks said, it's the hard that makes it great. Remember that in A League of Their Own? So most of you probably didn't see that. But if you do see it, he's talking to Gina Davis. Because she wants to go off with her husband and go have babies during the World Series. She said it just got hard. And he said, it's the hard that makes it great. And that's what it's like in this enterprise. It is hard. But it's what makes it great. Have a great conference, everybody.